back to Introduction to Synthesizers, a free class that will teach you all the skills you need to start working with synths. Now, in the previous videos, we learned how all synthesizers, regardless of their type, are going to follow the very same 3-step process for creating new sounds. Step number 1 is to produce a raw sound. Step number 2 is to modify that sound. And then step number 3 is to amplify it so it can be heard. Today, we are going to tackle 2 of the most fundamental and powerful tools for modifying sounds, which are Portamento mode and Legato mode, each of which can be used to help make your synths sound more natural by introducing a bit of expressive potential to your performances. Together, we will learn what they are, how they work, how to set them up, and most importantly, when and why you should apply them when creating new sounds. As always, along the way, we'll learn a bunch of simple but super fun strategies for using these tools in your own workflow and in any synth that you happen to be working with. So with that, let's get started. First up, let's tackle Portamento mode. Now, the term portamento refers to a classic technique, originally used by some acoustic instruments, like the cello. The idea here is that rather than having a clean break between 2 pitches like this, a musician using portamento will glide seamlessly from one pitch to the next, moving through all the pitches in between. Most synthesizers are capable of the exact same technique, although sometimes it's referred to as glide instead of portamento. And generally speaking, they tend to be capable of performing them at much more extreme speeds, both slow fast, and everything in between. Now, portamento mode in most synths will involve 2 traditional controls: a way to turn it on and off, and a way to control the speed or length of your glide. In Massive X, our control for glide is found in the oscillator window, right here, where you can toggle it on and off with this little glide button right here. And to control the rate, we have the time knob just below, where we can actually see how long the glide will take in milliseconds. In Massive, we find it underneath the oscillator tab, where the time knob itself controls the glide. All the way to the left, there is no portamento. The further you turn it right, the longer the portamento time. Absynth 6 also combines the 2 controls. Here in the assignment window, we see the glide knob turned all the way to the left, like in Massive. There is no portamento. Turn it over to the right. The longer you go, the stronger the portamento becomes. Now, a third type of control that isn't necessarily standard, but is still worth mentioning because it is super common, is some sort of method for controlling your portamento mode, or the actual behavior of your rate itself. Here in Massive, we see 2 of the most common: equal and rate. Set to equal, your glide will be time-based. So if I set it to be 500 milliseconds long, or however long this is, because Massive doesn't actually show you, it will always take 500 milliseconds to move from one note to the next. It doesn't matter how far apart they are. Moving from middle C to a major third up will take the same amount of time as going from middle C to an octave above. Meaning that the speed your glide has to travel will be faster than it doesn't matter how far apart they are. Your glide will always last 500 milliseconds. This means that the speed of your portamento will have to be faster for larger leaps than smaller steps, because equal rate means that moving by an octave will take the same amount of time as moving by just a major third. See how that works? The other traditional mode, which here is called rate, sets your glide to be speed-based, not time-based, meaning that whether you're moving by a major third or an octave, your glide will move at the same speed. Naturally, this means larger leaps will require more time to glide than smaller intervals. Now, regardless of which type of mode you're working with, because not all synths will let you choose, the steps to setting up Portamento mode in your synth of choice tends to be pretty standard. Step number 1, make sure your synth is set to monophonic mode, which we learned in video 5 of the series. Some synths are capable of using Portamento mode and polyphonic mode at the same time, but it's not very common. So generally speaking, you'll probably just use this for monophonic synths. But once your synth is set to monophonic, step number 2 is to turn Portamento mode on and start experimenting with port times and rates, and if available, modes until you have the sound you want. Now, this theory is important to know because it helps you understand what this tool is capable of and how it can be applied. However, personally, I've always found theory easier to master if I can just play around with a couple standard strategies or applications before experimenting with others on my own. So, in that spirit, there are 2 common uses for Portamento in sound design. The first is to use longer port times to create a more traditional glissando or legato type sound. The second is to use much faster port times to create a whippier, almost kind of juicy type attack to the start of each note. However, neither of these techniques are super common to use on their own. Instead, they are most commonly used with our second tool, legato mode. Legato mode is another setting inspired by traditional performance techniques, in which a musician plays a phrase or a series of notes smoothly with little to no space between each note, often all with either the same breath or bowing motion, depending on the type of instrument. So to put this simply in synth terms, it impacts your envelope shapes. When active, anytime 2 or more notes overlap, they will share the same envelope shapes. Amp envelopes, filter envelopes, modulation envelopes, it doesn't matter. If you're using envelopes, those notes will all share the same exact one. You will not trigger a new envelope shape until one of your notes breaks the pattern by not overlapping with the others. That break will reset your envelopes from the start. For example, here I've made a very simple synth with a very striking attack at the beginning of the sound. This buzzing quality only appears at the very start of the envelope. With legato mode turned on, so long as each of these notes overlap, only the very first note will contain that attack because they all share the same envelope. If I were to copy and paste these and shorten this note here so there is no overlap, suddenly the attack would reappear here because the envelope shape resets. A new envelope is created. Now, maybe it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Legato mode only works with monophonic synths. So setting it up usually involves first setting your synth to mono mode, and then just simply pressing the button that says legato. Here in Massive X, it's found in the voicing tab, a couple different options. In Massive, we find it in the voicing tab as well, right under trigger, where we have always trigger, legato mode, and legato triller, which is an option unique to Massive. As usual, most synths will have additional options that make them unique, but legato and non-legato are both standards. And then here in Absent 6, legato is found in the assign window. Naturally, since it only works for monosynths, this counts out things like pads or polyphonic plucks or any other type of synth that works with multiple voices. But it does make it supremely useful for expressive performances with leads, bass lines, and other melodic style synths. Don't forget that in the last video, we defined expressive sounds as sounds that allow you to make subtle changes to the pitch, volume, and or timbre of your sound during a performance. And this is what legato mode is mostly used for. Using legato mode on an amp envelope with a sharp attack and a moderate sustain can help give your melody a smoother sound, since the envelopes don't restart at the attack stage with each note. You can use legato mode with other similar setups to also exercise more control over which individual notes will have actual attack transients, which can be useful for leads where you want to accent certain notes, but not all of them. In fact, this last option is actually super common for combining both portamento mode and legato mode together. You see, when portamento mode and legato mode are both active, only the notes that overlap will actually glide, actively mimicking how portamento is used with acoustic instruments, since it's technically a specific type of legato technique. This combination allows you to be more choosy about which specific notes have that added little whip to the start, or which ones have a more dramatic slow bend or glide between them. Now, before we end this video, we do need to take a moment to address how this step can fit into your general workflow. First, I would start by deciding which type of synth I'm trying to create. In this case, a lead, pluck, pad, or bass. Then I would select an initial oscillator to use as a reference for setting up my amp envelope. This is where I would also decide to set up my synth as being monophonic or polyphonic. Once all that's set up, I would experiment with my oscillator configuration, making small tweaks to my amp envelope as necessary before experimenting with filters. Once my initial sound is set up, I would then begin experimenting with how applying envelope generators to various parameters of my synth can help provide additional personality and color to my sound, and how portamento and or legato modes can help contribute to the personality of my instrument. Now, as you can probably tell, there's going to be a lot of moving back and forth between various steps when making a synth, and that is okay. It's not supposed to be dogmatic or linear. You are allowed to play around and experiment. The whole point of having a workflow like this is to just simply help reduce choice paralysis, which can be super common in sound design. And using only what we've learned in these first 6 videos, we can already create a wide variety of interesting and unique sounds. So with that all taken care of, we have reached the end of another video, my friends. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Today, we have added the following items to your new synth checklist. If you find yourself working with a new synth and you can identify these simple tools, you will be that much closer to mastering your new instrument. A special thank you goes to my patrons and channel members for making videos like this one possible. I appreciate each of you more than you know. You can use the affiliate link in the description of this video to grab a copy of any of the synths used in these videos so far and follow along with the rest of this series. So until next time, my friends, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. I will see you in the next video.